now Abraham, has finally completed the covenant with God. Circumcision has been used as a sign for this occasion. The Lord has promised to Abraham that he will have a son through Sarah. But the Lord is also looking and turned his eyes to Sodom and Gomorrah, for they are evil. He seeks to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, but Abraham has pleaded with him to spare them. Will the Lord finally give Abraham a son through Sarah? Will he spare Sodom and Gomorrah? Let's find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to Telly Talks Bible. Here we are in part 3 of the Abraham story. Now, these next 3 chapters I'm going to go over, they're going to deal with, if you remember in the last video, I was talking about how Abraham now was pleading with God, trying to save Sodom. He was asking him, if for the sake of this many righteous people, would you destroy Sodom or would you spare it? So we're going to find out the fate now of Sodom and Gomorrah, another place that is just filled with evil. A lot of what is going on in Sodom and Gomorrah is what was occurring before the flood occurred. We're also going to get into details on other things with the possible child that the Lord has promised to Abraham through his daughter Sarah. So let's get started. I'm going to open my NIV, chapter 19. The 2 angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. So right here we are, dealing with Lot again. God had told, it was Abram at the time, his name hadn't changed yet, to leave your family, take your wife and leave. And he didn't listen to what he had been told. He brought along other people. He had brought his nephew Lot, which has caused him trouble in the past. And this is the whole reason why Abraham was trying to convince the Lord not to destroy Sodom, because he knows Lot was camped outside of Sodom, but now has since moved in to the area of Sodom with all these evil people that are killing, raping, stealing, just flat out no morals whatsoever, doing whatever they think is right in their eyes. That's why these men have now surrounded, because there are strangers in their area, in their city, and they want to find out who they are. They want to do with them what they will. And Lot knows this. Lot knows the area that he lives in. That's why he is so, steadfast on making these 2 people, these angels, to stay with him for the night, because he knows what the people of the city are like and what they will do. So I'm pick back up, verse 5. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Get out of the way," they replied. "This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. So again, Lot's not supposed to be there. He's a foreigner to them. He traveled and was living outside of Sodom. Now he's moved inside of Sodom, and so he's been treated as a foreigner. Now, he's offered up his daughters in place. And that's just kind of a thing that was done back then. It's not like how we do it now. This wouldn't ever happen now. But he just kind of offered them up because these men were brought under his roof as guests for protection. And I don't know, maybe he knew that even offering his daughters up wouldn't appease these people. So let's continue on. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The 2 men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-laws, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. There's that word again, the outcry. The bloodshed that has occurred in the city, it is crying out to the Lord. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry, get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-laws thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away, then the city is punished." His sons-in-laws didn't believe him, which means he probably didn't live the life of the Lord, life in the Lord, like he should have. So his sons-in-laws didn't believe him. But this is also a callback to something. This is calling back to Noah. No one believed that a flood was going to happen. No one believed that was going to happen, and it happened. So now Lot's hesitating, still not wanting to go. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hands and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city. For the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me and spared my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zor. So again, here's Lot not doing what he's told, talking back basically, and I'm guessing he thought that if he went up to the mountains that they wouldn't survive there. So he's still trying to like hold on to like some type of civilization. I'm assuming that's what's going on here. But as we read on, the way his daughters act is a little strange if he's going to another town. It says, "By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun has risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. From the Lord out of the heavens, thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities and all the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt." Something that I heard the other day and really stuck out to me about this story, and it made me think of it in a different light. Whenever you're struggling, you're having a hard time, I want y'all to think about this story, because the Lord wants us to always keep looking forward. What's in the past needs to be left in the past. Always keep your eyes forward, because if you look back, it could hurt you. It could destroy you, just like in this instance. They were told not to look back, but for some reason, Lot's wife decided to look back, and she was destroyed for it. The Lord wants us to always be looking forward. He never wants us to be hung up on our past. That's salvation through Jesus Christ. Always keep looking forward. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Even with everything that had happened, Lot wasn't even supposed to be there. He was supposed to be left behind. But God, because of Abraham, still saved Lot on the account of Abraham. Just because he was, a relative of Abraham, and Abraham asked for him to save Sodom. But he wasn't going to save Sodom altogether, but he did, on behalf of Abraham, save Lot for his sake. Now here's where it gets a little crazy. Now we're going to be focusing, it's going to shift on to Lot and his daughters. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zor and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zor. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. Okay, so here we go. He asked to be there in Zor because he was afraid to go into the mountains, but now he's been left there and went to the mountains anyway, which is where he should have been in the first place. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as it is custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father." That night they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ami, and he is the father of the Ammonites of today. So they're in a cave. They're worried. Oh, we're going to die here. Our family line is going to die here. That was something that was really big back in the day. You got to understand, this is old text. Things were different back then. The main concern of that time was keeping your name alive, keeping your lineage going. So they saw that their father was old. He had no sons, and they were the last two of his family line since his wife had perished when she went back. So they took it upon themselves, did what was right in their eyes to keep the family line going by getting their father drunk and sleeping with him so they could be pregnant with his child. Does this kind of sound slightly familiar with maybe someone else that got drunk and maybe fell asleep and someone walked in and saw him uncovered, and maybe something happened, maybe something didn't? Yeah, talking about Noah. There's a lot of callbacks through this Bible. So that kind of ends a lot about what's going on with Lot. You're going to hear the Moabites and Ammonites, excuse me. They'll come back up later on, the further in we get. But that's it for them for the time being. So now we're going to talk about Abraham and I'm going to try to say this right. Abimelech. Hang on. Abimelech. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there was Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead, because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent man? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'? And didn't she also say, 'He is my brother'? I have done this with a clear conscience and clear hands." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die." Does this sound familiar again? Abraham did the exact same thing when he was in Egypt. He said that his wife was his sister because he feared. He had fear instead of trusting that the Lord was going to keep him safe. He took it upon himself to say, "Hey, this is my sister." Now, Amalek here wasn't necessarily in the wrong because he thought maybe if he married in with his sister, that it would be a great alliance. Because at this time, Abraham was a wealthy man. He had, servants, livestock. Back then, he had people. He led a lot of people. So he was seen as, a great man at the time. So this king was like, "Oh, well, if we can form an alliance, it will benefit me and him." But now the Lord's not going to let anything happen to Sarah because Sarah has promised to have a son with Abraham. We're going to continue on. Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, "What have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." And Abimelech asked Abraham, "What was your reason for doing this?" Abraham replied, "I said to myself, 'There is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is my sister, the daughter of my father's, though not to my mother, and she became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, This is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, He is my brother.' And Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, My land is before you. Live wherever you like. To Sarah he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slaves so they could have children again. For the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's household from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. So right there, the Lord had put a hold on, he had basically put a curse on Abimelech and his household until Sarah was returned. Now Abraham has deceived this king, and what has happened? He is still, even through this deception, ended up coming out on top again, just like he did in Egypt. It's just the way that how God has taken something that was bad and has spun it around and made it good. He made it good because he has made a promise to Abraham that he's going to make him the father of many nations and bless him. Even though Abraham is messing up over and over and over again and not trusting in the Lord. So there's another difference too. In Egypt, the Pharaoh told Abraham, leave this land, get away, because he was afraid of the Lord. Now, Abimelech is also afraid of the Lord, but in a different way. He's saying, hey, you can stay here as long as you like. Just pick whatever spot you want, and you're free to stay here. So now, let's go into chapter 21, and then I'm going to close this out. Now, here comes the final promise to Abraham. Through Sarah, he's going to have a child. It starts with, now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son of Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him. As God commanded him, Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. And she added, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children, yet I have borne him a son in his old age. There it is. God promised Abraham and Sarah, y'all will have a child. Right there, fulfilled. Even after everything that Abraham did with Hagar, trying to, have children by his own means, all this deception through Egypt, not also the deception with the king Amalek, the things that were going on with Lot, even through all that, God's promise still came through. Speaking of Hagar, the child grew and was weaned. And on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. The matter distressed Abraham greatly, because it concerned his son. But God said to him, do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders, and then he sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered the desert of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, I cannot watch the boy die. And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying. As he lies there, lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Haran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. Again, another instance where God has taken something, a deception, a wrongdoing, and has continued to even bless Abraham through this son, this illegitimate son, if you will. Is still going to be blessed because he is Abraham's son. Now, this next part, it's going to be going back to Abimelech, and they're just basically going to make a treaty between the two of them. So it says, at the time, Abimelech and Pichol, the commander of his forces, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. Now swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me, or my children, or my descendants. Show to me and the country where you now reside as a foreigner the same kindness I have shown you. Abraham said, I swear it. Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized. But Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I heard about it only today. So Abraham brought the sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and 2 men made a treaty. Abraham set apart 7 ewes, lamb, from the flock, and Abimelech asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewes you have set apart by themselves? He replied, accept these 7 lambs from my hands as witness that I dug this well. So the place was called Beersheba because the 2 men swore an oath there. After the treaty had been made at Beersheba, Amalek and Pichol, commander of his forces, returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time. So they just had a small dispute about a well. Abraham claimed that it was his well, and because the Lord was with him, Amalek was like, yes, that's fine. It's your well. And Abraham basically paid for it, even though it was already his. But anyway, that's it. That's part 3. I believe there's one more part 4. And then after that, it's going to start getting into more talking about Isaac after Abraham. That's going to be another, 3 or 4 part series. I'm going to keep trying to post these videos and do them as much as I can. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for all the support. Please continue to spread the word, get it out there. My following is still continuing to grow steadily. Thank everybody for the support. And as always, God bless.